Hello, fellow Black Ice players. This is Gamer1745 here. This is a special episode. I'm going to be taking a look at the Third Reich ministers. Say it that way because these are ministers either added, but mostly just customized and changed by the submod Third Reich events. The one, of course, I created with the help of others, but it's still my focus of the mod. So all good things or bad things, you get to blame me for them there. And I do have a list of credits of people up on the first page for the mod. Right. So this is going to be a tutorial, a walkthrough of the ministers, as well as admittedly part of showing off some of my work that I've done as a mod creator. So we'll get started here. Well, before we do, I guess, if you're new, you're probably not, you can hit the subscribe button. But everybody, can you just hit the like button? It really helps, promotes up the videos. Okay. So here we have the ministers. They've added the scroll bar here to be able to deal with one more science minister. We'll get there. We're going to go through all of these. We're going to look at the ones that we can see here that are all starting here. You have Führer of the Third Reich, Deputy Führer, Außenminister, Reichswehrminister, Reichsministerium des Intern, Reichszeugministerium, head of Abwehr, General Stabschef des Heers, Oberkommandant Wehrmacht and Großadmiral. And down here, Oberbefehl I'm sorry, my German friends, I'm butchering this, the Luftwaffe. Okay, that tells you that all of these, starting here, have all been touched by Third Reich events because they have a specific ministerium. Now, I want to say, up front here, Black Ice has gone in and added effects. A lot of them are buildings being placed into the onto the map based on who are ministers and in what slots. Okay, now, and I had Revolver Held was very concerned because I've added all these new minister types here. Is that going to affect that? No, not at all. The way Black Ice handles the buildings and other things, and we will talk some about that here coming up, is by the number. Each one of these guys is controlled by a number. Every minister in every country has a unique number. So I did not change the number. I just changed their stats. And so they look to see minister number 5 or something, or minister number 305. Is he the currently selected science minister or something like that? If yes, then do either boosts in research so that they have some of that, or say place buildings on the map. So none of that has been changed, but we will get to some of that here. Okay, I've been told that they've sort of freed up these slots. It either has to be free for all nations, I believe, in the game, or none of them, for more flexibility for some countries. And I could see that as being good for most. Unless you have a specific event, because Karl Donitz does end up being the successor to Hitler by the end, but and Goering was sort of designated as successor in 1940. I don't know if you would consider Deputy Führer successor earlier, unless you're having an assassination event or something like that. I'm not terribly in favor by this, especially throwing in, I want to play good Germany conquest, bringing Paul von Hindenburg, who was dead since 34? Okay. Don't know. Right. So we're going to go through. I'm going to not look at all of these. I'm going to look at the ones that Third Reich has done. Mostly the Third Reich, again, you can tell this is Hermann Goering, right? But he's here as autocratic charmer. That wouldn't be my thing. Generally, the Third Reich events, minister versions will be the best ones to have in the slots for various reasons. So, yes, basically stick with Hitler. You get monthly war exhaustion, daily descent down, ruling party support. So he's good to have there. This is a mix of tutorials and whatnot. Deputy head of Deputy Führer, or in this, we do have Reich Chancellor. That if you want to put Hitler in both slots, you can do that. I did add that. But you can look here. This will bring down more war exhaustion, but more ICs with Hess. Oh, also this is with a special version I made of the country file that brings at least all the ministers that I want to talk about here now at the start of the game. Many of these will not become available until later in the game. So you won't have the ability to switch them right at start. I just want to do that so we could talk about them. So normally here is Rudolf Hess. He's pretty good. War exhaustion, like I was saying, down, which a lot of his tenure is under peace, but the early year or so of the war. And then you have boost in ICs, threat impact, reduction, efficiency, construction, practical decay. He may be a bit overpowered, but he was really trying to manage. I don't know how much I should go into all these different personages. Probably not a lot. We'll keep it short. Manage the sort of the National Socialist Party, very much focused on that. Then, of course, after he leaves, you were forced into Reich Minister and private secretary for Hitler. Money's down, national unity. He's not terribly popular. Most people, I don't think, knew who Martin Bormann was, quite honestly, though he's a very important guy inside the Third Reich. I see efficiency production. He keeps efficiency going. But yes, you have other choices. So generally speaking, if you want to play more or less historically, you have him, and then you have him afterwards, after he flies off to England. Okay, Reich Minister of Foreign Affairs. The start of the game is House Minister of Foreign Affairs Minister Konstantin von Rath. Consumer goods down, daily dissent down, ruling party support. Even though he is not a Nazi, I would agree with that. And change in neutrality there. So that is the historical starting foreign minister. Hitler sort of inherits him. He is not a party member. I may have joined at some point, I don't know, but afterwards. Now, I have not gone in and changed a lot of these options, but they have expanded who can go into what slots. So people like Joseph Goebbels are here as Minister of Propaganda. You can decide to use him. Franz von Papen. Botschaft des Deutschen Reich. I'm not exactly sure that he was the German Chancellor, then becomes Vice Chancellor. Only sometimes they have a Vice Chancellor. It's not a guaranteed spot under Hitler. Then he becomes a special ambassador, if you will, to Austria. whose mission is to get Austria to be united with the Reich, Anschluss, and then later gets sent out to Turkey and stays there until the end of the war. Basically refuses to go back to Germany when called. So he is a reasonable alternative if you want to, once he's available, to have here as foreign minister. The other historical, which I sort of differentiated him from this Außenminister with Reich Außenminister, Jakob Ribbentrop, leading up to becoming the actual foreign minister, he had been the NSDAP's foreign minister, if you will, the party's foreign minister, as well as ambassador to England for a while. Did a very poor job over there. So you have greater threat impact. He's good for once you get the war going, and managing that, a little bit more manpower. So he is set up to do that. Then we have Alfred Rosenberg here, Aus Politisches Amt der NSDAP. So that would be Foreign Politics Office of the NSDAP. Tendency to drift towards internal factors, daily dissent, probably not ruling party support. Probably not a good choice, but another possible choice that I saw as historically viable. They call this National Defense Minister. It's still internally called the Economics Ministry, in the files. Really what this is. I don't know why he starts here. I haven't changed. Werner von Blomberg really is the guy who's in charge of the military, not the army, the military, which includes the Navy, but and then the Luftwaffe once it's officially created. So that's who you get here as starting. Who you want to change it to immediately is Helmar Schacht. Of the people that are involved at the time, he is the one who understands economies the best. So lots of IC, money, construction, practical decay. He wants to rebuild Germany, make Germany strong. You want to get him in as fast as you can, but you will, towards the end, I think it's October or September of 36, you will get the start of the 4-year plan, and you will need to have Hermann Goering in charge of it. You will want the 4-year plan. There is a lot of benefits to the 4-year plan. So even though it's cost you money, land organization is down, but for most of his time, if not all of his time, you will not be fighting air organization up. But what you really will get benefits here is resources. That's to the right Reichswehr Hermann Goering, as well as that's sort of a corporation, if you will. Not that Goering owns it. Goering is just the manager of it. It's a Nazi party government. As time goes on, the party and government are merging as one. That is eventually, I believe, the goal. Never fully happens, but is sort of the National Socialist goal. The 4-year plan, Reichswehr Hermann Goering, is not entirely, but very heavily concentrated on increasing the resources of Germany, resource acquisition. I forget, a rare earth mineral that was, I think you could import it from Morocco. That there was just to sort of illustrate this, there was a significant deposit of it in Germany, and this is sort of what leads up to setting up the 4-year plan. And the German government goes around to the major miners and go, hey, can you start mining this essential resource? And they all take a look at it and go, it's going to take too long before it becomes profitable, because although it had a lot of whatever it was in it, It was mixed with a lot of other things, meaning it wasn't very well concentrated. So it would take a lot of effort to get this rare earth mineral out, and you could import it cheaper. Eventually, after the investment, you could eventually maybe make it barely profitable if foreign imports don't swamp you down. So no private company was interested in exploiting these resources. Well, they couldn't quite go to all these private companies and say, oh, we're planning on having a war in which we're going to be cut off of this, so you need to develop it locally here and not worry about imports. That's why Reichswerk Hermann Goering, why the 4-year plan, because they're going to go to war and they want to get the Reich industrially set up to fight that. That is against what Hjalmar Schacht wants, a strong Germany, very much so, and he's working towards that, including militarily. But he's not looking for World War II. He's just looking to have a strong Germany. And so you're making decisions that are costing you money. You're making other decisions that are not maybe increasing your industrial capacity as best economically, but you are preparing yourself for war. You will get a lot of benefit from having this, so you need to have him here. If you remove Goering at any time during the 4-year plan, the 4-year plan goes away and it never comes back. So once it's done, it's done. Once you remove him for even a moment, it's done. So you need him until it's done. Now, as soon as the 4-year plan is done, Fritz Todt will already be available. You want to get him in. He is also a resource, also working on crude oil, but more industrial focus, so more ICs. Fritz Todt is the way you want to go. Now, the beginning of 42, normally it's sometime in 42, Fritz Todt, there's a death event, so he dies, he goes away. You want to get Reich Architect and Organization Todt leader. Now that Todt's dead, he's put in charge as Albert Speer. ICs, more supplies, efficient production, resources, not as much, practical decay down. So that's your best options, I feel. But there are other realistic alternatives here. Here. Okay. Leiter der Deutsches Arbeitsfront. So this is the DAF. Robert Ley, very popular. He is the sort of union leader than the German workers' union, the DAF, that is what this is. So war exhaustion down, but supplies and money down. It's very worker, support ruling party. So if you're having war exhaustion problems, you might consider putting him in. Obviously takes big chunks of money and supplies down. And we also, if you want to have someone in charge for production that's going to focus on armor production, you see armor practical decay way down. I see efficiency for production and mobile unit decay. So Inspector der Panzertruppen, Heinz Guderian, you can put him in charge. Okay, maybe this is the time to look at some of this. He was this while, and he actually got along and worked well with Speer, as far as I remember reading. And so why shouldn't you have both? Why can't you have both? They're working on. And earlier on, when you have Reichswerk Hermann Goering, I have Hermann Goering. We do have a Walter Funk somewhere in here, who was basically Goering's yes man as a replacement. But I think it's just better to have. We'll get to some of these others here. Where's Funk Walter? 3 times already. Well, maybe not. I don't know. Oh, maybe I didn't change. Oh, I didn't change the start date. I didn't change all that. So yeah, you could be. He could be the guy, but I'm just keeping it as Goring. But why can't you have Goring and Schacht FX? Because although he technically gets replaced by Walter Funk, but Funk is Goring's yes man, so it's basically Goring in charge of it. But he stays president of the Reich Bank, not just as minister. Well, I look at this as, and these effects. These effects here are, in my opinion, are made up of three factors. One, the individual, his talents at running the ministry. Two, the organization he's in essence representing. And three, that person's power dynamic within the National Socialist regime, often how close they are to Hitler. Are they Hitler's buddy, or are they somebody like Karl Donitz or Raeder, charge of the Navy, somebody that Hitler, they deal with Hitler, but they don't hang out with him at the Berghof in, the Eagle's Nest, down here. So, in this building. National Socialist politics are really sort of screwed up. They're really sort of interesting to try to figure out. But so I've sort of balanced all three of those things in trying to come up with an idea of what these effects are. It's not that Goering is good management here. He is not. The money, bad management and whatnot is not meant to be as bad, or for bad money situation is not meant to be like wasteful spending as opposed to spending on particular things. It's not that Goering was doing such a great job. It's just he had the power and his organization was doing a reasonably good job. And I look at these ministers as, yes, there are times in which you will have two or more of these guys effectively functioning at the same time in the National Socialist regime. But this is just the one, shall we say, you as leader of Germany put the most emphasis on. So they may be all there working around in the background, but where you put extra resources, extra emphasis, whatever, so you get to pick the one that has the biggest effect of all these sort of going on all at once. That's sort of how I look at this. So, like I say, you want to get Albert Speer as soon as you can, and he has, generally speaking, going to be the best stats for everything. But like I say here, if you're starting to get a lot of monthly war exhaustion, you get a lot of war exhaustion, you want to try to reduce that. Maybe you want to go over to Ley because you're just, in theory, you're sitting there at war, you've defeated the Soviet Union, you're getting ready to invade Britain. You don't need all the extra ICs or the extra resources. You've got plenty of those, but you got a lot of war exhaustion, so you want to change the focus. So you may want to do that. So there are reasons to go to some of these other positions as the war goes on. Don't know why the hell he would be a resource. Franz Xavier Schwartz is really an NSDAP party manager guy. I don't know what they're thinking about that, but whatever. I guess they just got to stick something under them. Doesn't make a lot of sense. So if you look at, hey, you want to have efficient ICs, sure, but you want to really sort of crank out mobile and armor units. You want to put Guderian in charge. Plus, there is also the factor, which, again, Third Reich Events doesn't really touch on, is doing the buildings that are like tank factories that get stuck into the, that are spammed into the game at different, I think it's like every 60 days or something, depending on who is a minister at a particular time, so that you would get that effect here. So there is some of that. Franz Xavier Deutsch, not Franz Xavier Schwartz, which is this guy. They're two different guys, and I've seen their photos mixed up at times. He is Sonderbüro Trafikten für die Kriegs Mausführung. I don't know. Sorry, Germans. Yes, I hope this all sounds good. He may have been more or less the number 2 guy to tote in the organization tote. That's an organization tote uniform he's wearing there. But he doesn't get the job to succeed tote. Speer gets the job. He and Speer are always grinding against each other within the organization. As the war goes on, he functionally is more and more running organization tote, build and doing all the things like continuing building the Atlantic Wall, expanding it up into Norway, working on like building underground factories and that kind of thing. He continues to be the builder, where Speer is more and more becoming the guy who's managing the armaments and munitions productions. How many tanks you're building, how many artillery rounds you're building, all of that stuff. So eventually, for building, he more or less replaces Speer towards the late war. And that is it for Third Reich events touched. People here. I have thought of bringing in, start blanking on names when I don't see them. Hans Kammler as a late war builder. He was the one building all kinds of weird things, including, but maybe, building underground, along with Deutsch, underground factories inside of mountains to build Me-262s, but also building, V weapons and weird death rays and all kinds of factory stuff. That's just more of a curiosity. Now, I don't know that he's here. Walter Dere, again, just because I don't know if he started. He's here. I guess he's not. They have him. I think you can get him later on, or maybe it's a different one. He was agricultural minister for Germany for quite some time. I don't know whether I should worry about spending time at creating a Dere minister, because he's just going to be a bad minister. Dere was very green. The Nazis are really, in my opinion, the first true green party out there. They're very environmentally conscious. But Dere, wants to get rid of monoculture, meaning like just, this field grows wheat. He wants to do more crop rotation. He pushes for sort of well-to-do peasant farmers owning their own land instead of more industrial concerns. So inefficient farming. Not really the guy you want to have in a war that you're starving because you don't have enough food. He does a lot of these esoteric other things too, including esoteric farming. So I've sort of not done all the Nazi ministers that you just have a bunch of red with maybe one or two good green, but barely. So I've tried to focus on either the historical, and we'll get to somebody that's very red up there, but the historical minister, or the ones that will actually be useful to you as a player. So Minister of the Interior used to be, which often is called the Minister of Interior, is sort of internal security minister. He is Walter Frick, Wilhelm Frick. Reich Minister des Intern. He is the Interior Minister. So he starts out as basically the head of the police. The police eventually come under the SS at times. But so I sort of like this better than security, even though security. So it's sort of your internal operations. Internally, what do you want to focus on most? So you have him as an interior minister who does more than police. So he's running that, or you can focus on, which I would suggest here, at least early on, Joseph Goebbels as propaganda minister. Now you can have Kurt Delug, I don't know how that's pronounced, Chief Ordnungspolizei, the order police. Going to ruin your ICs and ruling party support, but go after the partisans well. Once the war is started, this is sort of where I would go. Reichsführer SS. Manpower's up, leadership is up, but you do have ruling party support down, partisan efficiency up because of his policies and because of, his camps in which people concentrate and then stop concentrating in are a drag on the war economy for sure. Involuntary labor probably is a benefit to your war machine, but when you are literally trying to work them to death, is probably not. Hey, yeah, this guy's been here for 60 days and he's learned how to do his job efficiently. Oh, he just died from lack of food. Okay, new guy, you don't know how to do this? Well, here, learn. So yeah, it's probably not the best effective message. So you can go with some others. I mean, yeah, you can try to do some of these way off, not viable options here. Reinhard Heydrich, the SS Reich Sicker Heinz Hamped out. Basically, he is going to bring down your partisans, but having his secret police also running around, they're going to reduce support, and because he is sort of SS, he's going to do Himmler's sort of policies. So yeah, it's not always great options. I mean, I guess probably if you don't want negatives, you just go with Goebbels, which I do early on. But that manpower and leadership is very useful later on in the war once you need it. Okay, so that's those so far. Now we're coming to the new minister types, which they've added now. The Third Reich events that you have out there now, I made a newer version that better integrates the science ministers that I've created into the Black Ice extra benefits, whether it's for research or buildings or other things. They're better integrated now. So you start off with Bernhard Rust, Reicher, Sein Hung Ministerium. He is basically the Reich Minister of Science and Education, if the whole thing gets out. His leadership is down. Consumer goods are down. Ruling party support is up. Research efficiency is way down. He is a nut job. I think that would be a basic. He experiments with like a 6-day-a-week schools or something like that really throws everybody out of whack with their schools from, parents don't, trying to deal with this stuff. He's a nut job. So you want to get rid of him as fast as possible. You just want him gone. Now, Todt isn't available right off, I don't think. Again, I've changed the starting dates if you don't remember, so we can just see them all here now instead of having to go late into the game. You very well, Willy Messerschmitt as an early beneficial one to get. He is good early on of the ones that are available to start. Eventually, if you want to go with rockets, you can get Werner von Braun, Reich, or no, Herz, Verschutz, Schultz, Peenemünde. So if I heard these, I could probably maybe sort of butcher them only a little bit. I know Peenemünde. So if you want to go that, if you want to do sort of either jets, because it's Henkel, not Messerschmitt, it's Henkel that supports jet engine development. Henkel is the one that does the first practical jet fighter for Germany. They just don't put it in production because it's not enough, air quotes. They're better than the fighters, the propeller engine fighters. It's not fast enough better to justify trying to put a whole new thing into production. I think it's partially the aircraft design, partially the engines aren't ready yet, but the UMO engines, jet engines that he's sort of developing working on developing, ends up being in the the ME-262 under Messerschmitt. But Messerschmitt is just the airframe designer, really, not the engine designer. So that's why I shifted the jet engine practical decay down to here. But if you want to do medium bomber practical decay, you probably want to do that once he becomes available. Again, you want to remove him right off. Here, this gets boosted more. Once you have a chance, and you'll see about the time that he becomes available, you'll have an event for the, will have an effect up here anyways for the Reich for Schonrat. This is the army. The army runs this basically. This is a office that is trying to organize research of various departments over time during the Nazi period. Some more departments come under it, some leave. So it's an overall branch, and some of these other people will be looking at here are sub-members under this, but it's again looking at what do you want to focus on. So research efficiency is up, and it's very sort of infantry, armor, and artillery practical decay is down. So if you're looking at building armies, this is the one you probably want to put up here. Reich, so ministerium, Otto Schirzer. This is one I've added. He is very much a Nazi. He helps research efficiency, but also electronic engineering decay. So if you're looking at doing getting things like radars and other electronic stuff built more, he is a good person to have there if that's where you're focusing on. So you can very much with the game go, hey, I want to try to build a bunch of radars all over the Reich. He's like maybe somebody you want to have in, but as soon as that's done, you want to maybe swap it out for or back to Eric over here, go back and forth. Kurt Debner, he is the one that you want to have here if you're looking to do nuclear bomb development. He will also, because he's set now, because I've set in the for the like every 60 days bonus to nuclear research things triggered off with that. Werner Ozenberg here, the Amt Group Forschung, get some, he basically here, you notice he is Army, but he's under the, it's a sort of a subgroup of that. A research efficiency, so you're getting some of that research efficiency a little bit more, but you're losing that. And if you want to focus a bit on spamming out more submarines, he is good there for that. Then you have Shift Bureau Technician Gesellschaft. This is George Schnandel here running this. This is the sort of research bureau for marine architecture, meaning shipbuilding. So you will get the benefits of having a capital ship researcher that you'll have periodic boosts plus these, and I did include destroyer practical decay and cruiser. So if you're going to go, you want to do research, he's available to start. Want to do research into shipbuilding as well as wanting to start building lots of ships, he's the guy you want to go with. Christopher Ashmonet, he was one of the main U-boat designers, so submarine practical decay is a good option here for him. Now not all of these guys, see, he's, I believe, available early on where he like starts like 41 or 42 or something in normal gameplay. So you don't always have all of these choices all at the same time, and even then because at the end of the game some of them will have died or otherwise get removed, like Hess going to England. So sometimes some of these will disappear, others will, you'll and normally have more options towards the end of the game. So you won't always be, well, why don't you just use this is better than that? Yeah, but he's available early on, he's not. So it depends if you want to do it. Okay, this is some of these guys, I like Christopher here, I hadn't heard of before until digging into all of this. But one, Helmut Walter. I've recently found out about Helmut Walter. He is a very interesting guy. He develops, and I think it first submarine is running around under the water in 1939. So probably before the start of the war. I'm not sure what date in 39. He develops an underwater rocket submarine. Well, it's really underwater rocket turbine submarine, sort of what we would in the modern day call air independent engines. Basically, it's not an internal combustion engine, and you can run it under the water, not create a bunch of noxious fumes, and you don't need a bunch of air coming in. So it's not running on batteries, it's running on this. They build like 9 or 12 of these types of submarines that are small test beds, and they start production on some and stop them. And one of the things that makes them much better than even the Electra boats that you get in the game is they're very fast under the water. They're not really speed overtaken in speed until later nuclear submarines. So they're super fast. So they're sort of a turbine rocket engine, and they're under the water, so they're very fast. So you have submarine practical decay, and you also have rocket practical decay because he has this engineer bureau, Helmut Walter, and in 1936 it's already like 300 people, presumed men, but there may be some women there. Design bureau already operating in 36, so he's there early, and he's also developing rocket engines, more for not the really the V1 or the V2 as much as some of the other sort of glide bomb type or rocket type anti-shipping type missile rockets. So he's doing a lot of this. Now he is sort of, and if you've watched this video you'll get a boost. There is sort of a submarine designer type thing that will give you boosts to research and or it's what the sort of boost if you have a submarine focused guy in there. You also get the boosts if you have a rocket, as if you had a rocket focus. So he gets sort of 2 minister slots for 1. So if you're wanting to do rocket and submarine, and this looks like the stats aren't so great, they're not here, but you'll get a lot of spammed out good stuff later on, or as well, not but as you have him, as you have him in there. So he's sort of a sleeper in that if you want to do get bonuses for rocket research as well as bonuses for submarine research, engines and whatnot. He is going to be getting you both of those bonuses. Now maybe you don't care about rocket research, or you're doing enough. It isn't. You have more important things to worry about, which I will totally grant that you very well may to have another minister in the slot. But if you want to have that as a combo, he is there. A very interesting guy with his design bureau. Okay, Richard Kuhn. Deutsches Chemiegesellschaft. Yes, he has a lot of negatives here. ICs, rare materials, money, leadership, but chemical engineering decay -3%. Don't know how much that's going to help you, but what he does is he's one of the ones that will spam out by having him in that slot research centers, the building the research centers. That's why you have the cost in money and ICs and rare materials is building these research centers. I'm not sure all the stats and just how they help with research. I think you can probably go, I don't know if they're even in here yet because it's obviously starting. agricultural industry, small news. I don't know here, but yeah, it will get you research centers. So, however important you think that is or not, I'm not sure because I haven't really played with a guy in there that would give you research centers. I took these sort of stats and I actually sort of lightened them up a little bit from the generic one. Someone that does that. So if you want research centers for a while, you don't necessarily need to keep them there all the time. You want to get Richard Kuhn in there. So a good guy to have for that if you want to do research centers. Gerhard, is it Domag, I don't know. He really develops a not penicillin based, but an antibiotic that really helps, saves his daughter's life, or at least having a limb amputated because of it. He wins a Nobel Prize for the medicine, but can't accept it because the German rules against it. Kuhn is a Nazi. He very much joins the NSDAP, denounces some fellow researchers who have Jews on their staff early on, all this stuff, where somebody like Gerhard is not doing that as far as anything that I've read up on him. So yeah, I do sort of take looking at some of these party, where they really, are very much involved with the party. He starts out as tote as an SA guy and whatnot. So yeah, but he goes work for pathology and bacteriology. I'm sort of anglifying it. In work for Bayer, as in like Bayer aspirin, because of his work. So this brings down, I had to try to figure out, because you don't have like a real good, I could build in, but it just takes a lot of work to build in the thing that would give you bonuses to these things, monthly while he's in there, for combat medicine, first aid, and basic medicine. Takes a lot of work to build all that in, just for one guy that maybe no one's ever going to use. So yeah, like I say, I don't know how much effort to put into some of these, especially if people aren't going to use them. But if you want to bring down war exhaustion, so hey, you're doing great on all your research stuff, you're doing good, but the war is going long, you're getting war exhaustion, you want to bring it down, he's good for that. Consumer goods during wartime, I figure saving people's lives are going to sort of help with that. And casualty trickle back. So if you're low on manpower, you're fighting a war out in Russia, and you might consider moving him into your science ministry at that point. So for like him, his effects really wouldn't help you in peacetime so much. So you don't want to bring him in early, even if he's available. Okay, head of intelligence. Obviously, Wilhelm Frick as Reich Minister of Intern is an option here realistically. Probably not the greatest one, but you have this opportunity to bring him in. It costs you money. He is an ideologist, so there, and I don't know what's covered up there. Something is green down below it. Wilhelm Canaris, head of the Abwehr, leadership down, but you do get a lot of intel bonuses. Again, I don't know why Schacht would be here. Martin Bormann, political specialist. Yeah, no. Then you have, if you want to have he is sort of head of intelligence for the SS. So, which do you want to put in charge here? The mere fact that he's sort of there, is it really him, or, back and forth. So you can choose whether you want, at some point, if you want, Himmler, which sort of is in some ways a weaker version of him over here, and you can have him learn in more than, is both head of intelligence and head of security if you want, or you can keep him in one place. But if you're trying to maximize manpower or political intelligence or something, but manpower is probably the one you would want to do it here. But if you're looking to maximize some of your intelligence, but not quite as good as bonuses here, though he is doing political intelligence where Heydrich is. So he has leadership down, negative modifier, but not a ruling party support down, heavy-handed Gestapo kind of thing. So you can choose where you want to go. Now, eventually, Heydrich will be, with Third Reich events, be assassinated like he was historically. I don't know I think he automatically dies. I'm not sure. And is basically sort of replaced by Walter Schellenberg, Ausland SD. So that's the SD, which is under him. But Ausland means foreign SD instead of internal SD. So you can jump over to him as an alternative if he's gone. And that's basically it for intelligence ministers that I've touched, because obviously we have ones that I have not touched that are here that you can choose from. So yeah, probably it's him early on, maybe once the war gets started, him here, or Himmler or Reinhard is probably who you would want in there for head of intelligence. Now, chief of staff, again, not all these guys are available at first. I know Guderian isn't available till like 42 or 43. So keep that in mind. Basically, you have at start, I think, a choice between Ludwig Beck or Alfred Jodl. There's Fritsch. Okay, so generally for these don't really matter too much to you starting out, because you're not doing little mobile unit decay, but you're not fighting the war. Starting experience plus to 15%, so he's probably the better one for starting out, because you don't have any partisans earlier on. Then maybe moving over to better combat speed later on. You might want to focus more on him, because notice he has different stats here. Then better. What are the stats here? Yeah, because we can see more efficiency in production, armor unit, mobile decay, where here you see him combat movement speed, organization regain, mobile units. So if you really want to go to a focusing on mobile and armor decay versus attack reinforcement, organization regain rate. So sort of your choices here. Yeah, you can use some of these other guys. Fritz Berlin. I don't know. Omar Gunner. I don't know who Gunner is. I know who Berlin is, but not well, but a bit. Your other choice here, Control Freak. You really don't want Hitler there. He is. They have him here. I think he should be chief of staff, because he was head of the military, not just head of, because he's Reichswehr minister. He's not just head of Reichsheeresminister, the army. So I think this is a wrong placement for him. I haven't changed it. Maybe I should. Obviously, he will be gone by the start of the. Well, I guess you could do an option. You could pick the option to keep him, but infantry practical decay, as if you're building early on infantry units, he'll be good to have for that. Fritsch also, because Fritsch is who should be here. This is where Fritsch should be, which he is here, because we can see he starts out Fritsch here. So it should be Bloomberg here, Fritsch here. Maybe I'll change that before I release the next version, but still the ministry here wouldn't change. Supply consumption, because he's sort of doing officer recruitment, but would be an armor practical decay. He's trying to build a new army. By the time you're actually getting into the war, probably Brauhitsch here as Oberbefehlshaber des Heers. Combat movement speed, organization regain, and armor decay. He's really focusing on armor, keeping the armor going. So he's probably your best choice. Keitel is a yes man to Hitler. Not very good in his job, but does get organization. So basically, because of Hitler's meddling and that's how I look at this. Hitler's meddling and interference, and he's being a yes man to him, even though if Hitler isn't actually like put in this spot here, units aren't reorganizing themselves after battle as efficiently, but they have higher organization levels. So yeah, Ludendorff dies before the war starts, so he won't be around to be useful after a while. Navy, in my opinion, I've only done the two main ones. You know, trying to build, try to create some sort of guy who would be like aircraft carrier kind of guy or something. That would be Goering or something. I don't know. So you have Gross Admiral, Great Admiral here. That's if you're doing surface fleets, capital ship decay. Really looking on that. The reason it's so big, it takes so long to build those things. Naval organization up. But if you're going to want to go to U-boats, now historically, Raeder is dismissed and Donitz is put in charge. I don't necessarily see that always as a binary choice, meaning you can keep the way I would design a game, which would have more minister slots, meaning you'd have like a chief of the Navy, and then you'd have somebody who was in charge of naval production. But you could have setting policy for the submarines. So this is why I've at times thought of having sort of super ministers that would sort of come and go. But so if you're going to do U-boat rating here. This now will give you more shipyards within the game, because this is because I should just say now, but it does, because I haven't changed the numbers of the ministers here. He'll give you more shipyards as long as you have him in charge here, and so you'll build ships better and easier. Once you get Donitz in charge, you'll get submarine development yards, if you want to call them that. I forget exactly what they call them. So you'll get those. And then submarine practical decay, convoy rating efficiency. So if you want to just early on know that you're going over to subs, do this. But if you're going to go Z plan and want to do a lot of big stuff, you can go here. That's sort of how I would recommend on that. Now, here we go. The last one here. We have several options here. He is probably when we look at the stats here. Some of these aren't terrible, but you have air organization up, but you also have resources +5. Why do you have Goering as charge of the Luftwaffe here? Resources. Well, because even though, the 4-year plan never the 4-year plan office thing, and there is nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. Okay, just know that. Whatever you may like it, I'm not saying, but there's nothing more permanent than a temporary government program. So the 4-year plan continues on till the end of the regime. There is still going on. Obviously, it's longer than 4-year plan, but its emphasis, its control is slipping away as first Todt becomes armaments minister, because there really isn't an armaments minister, as far as I remember, prior to Todt. There are economic ministers, Walter Funk, who does continue sort of as this thing on as economics minister, at least for a while, maybe to the end, I'm not sure. Just haven't bothered to look because he is unimportant, because he's just the yes man for Goering. But really, as the war becomes more and more of an important thing, you need to focus on. I don't know why he would be in here. Karl Friedrich von Siemens, who dies, I believe, fairly early in this. So, yeah, don't know why he's I don't know, some of these things. Sorry, got distracted there. So, the 4-year plan is still going, and definitely Reichswehr Hermann Goering is still going, even though Speer is taking over, first Todt, then Speer. The economy, well, he's taking over, setting priorities for Reichswehr Hermann Goering, which is to, do resources. So long as you have him here, you still have sort of Reichswehr Hermann Goering, and it's meant to have this and this at the same time, so you have 5% resources plus 5%, so you get a total of 10% when he is in both slots. It's designed to be that way, but to continue after it. Again, air organization, aeronautical engineering decay, down, and light aircraft practical, because he's very much a fighter proponent, not a bomber proponent, big bomber proponent. So now at the end, the reason he's here is because he gets fired for treason, basically. And for the last 2 weeks of the war, almost literally, Ritter von Grimm is put in charge, but he's much less useful. You can do the General Inspector der Luftwaffe, Edhard Milch. He is another sort of ally, if I remember correctly, of Speer. Milch, Speer, and Goering, if I remember, it's been a long time since I've read Inside the Third Reich. I mean, like 30 plus years since I read it. But if I remember correctly, they're working together. He's trying to run, the aircraft building element, where Guderian is trying to, run the tank building element under overall Speer's trying to war industrialization kind of thing. So he isn't a bad option. Air organization, air build speed up, air interception efficiency. A good choice here if you don't want Goering, but Goering is probably the best choice, because you can look here, 20%, 10%, so better here. Light 5%, okay, a little better practical decay there, but it's just those resources are critical. And then you have your Ernst Udet, General Luftzugmeister. He is put in charge of sort of aircraft procurement. He is a dive bomber pilot. He hates his job. There are still existing sort of cartoons that he's drawing at his desk, just hating his job. He hates his job. It's more Goering putting him, when really it should be him sort of running the show. It's Goering putting him in there against his. I mean, it isn't Udet's wanting to do it. He wants to command a Luftflotte and fight the war. I think it's a mix of hating his job, seeing that the war is going terrible and his pilots are dying, and realizing I'm maybe I'm projecting here on this third one, realizing the evil regime that he is supporting, the Holocaust, but that may be, again, my projecting of it. And maybe fourth, I don't know how much it plays in, love life problems of the mistress. He shoots himself at his desk. So he disappears at some point with Third Reich events. And then they're going to have a big funeral for him. So Mulders, the 100 fighter level, ace, flies back to tend the funeral and dies in an airplane crash flying back. That with Third Reich events. If he kills himself, Mulder's crashing is like a 80-20, have 20% chance of not crashing, surviving the crash, or however you want to say it. But so it sets off a chain that wrecks things a bit. So that is a possible, until he shoots himself, alternative to Goering. So that's a look at all of the ministers we have here. Really the ones I've recently integrated into the various boosting programs into for Black Ice have been my additions to the science ministers that Germany had that were real or likely candidates. And again, he wouldn't be the science minister, but he would, if you're putting Werner von Braun in, it just shows that you're focusing on him as opposed to other options. If you have a minister suggestion, you can post that below. I'll consider it. I don't know. Again, I do know of other ministers that some are here that don't have unique ones, but they just really, I just don't think people are going to play them when you have, who you're going to put other than Speer in charge once you can. I mean, really, who are you going to put other than Speer? Other than some like narrow use cases, like something that will help with where's Lay here, war exhaustion or something like that. That you're still at war, but it's you need to use it. I don't know, but yeah, put your suggestions below. If you have questions, put them below. Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for playing Third Reich Events. I hope Third Reich Events is designed to try to make Germany more historical. That is my number one goal with it, is to make a historical game for you to play. So I focus on reasonable what ifs, because I'm not trying to make a scripted one that you must choose certain things. You have the choice of not having the 4-year plan, so you can not have Goring. But if you want the 4-year plan, yes, you need Goring. So you have that. You do have the choice not to do the 4-year plan. So I'm not forcing you to have Goring. It's just, if you want one benefit, you have to take the other with benefit or cost with you, kind of thing. So and try to provide reasonable alternatives that you could focus on within the different ministries. I think I will be changing like that Bloomberg over. Why do I keep clicking there? Move Bloomberg from national minister to starting him as chief of staff. So it's Bloomberg and Fritsch here. I think I will change that. So that you may see that as a change coming soon, or just move it out from here up to here is probably it. So he could be both Minister of National Defense, Minister of Economy. So yeah, thanks so much. See you next time for more, yes, even more Hearts of Iron.